Hello, everybody. I hope everyone had a nice holiday season and is starting out the new year well. And right now, as we all know, there's a huge wildfire out in LA. With this, we are seeing claims of climate change being the cause, even though that is completely wrong. And the reason we know it's completely wrong is because it is all due to California and how they handle their preservation efforts. Um, Plus a mix of that, along with multiple other things, have caused an absolute catastrophic failure that, if California voters were intelligent people, they would immediately vote against Gavin Newsom and anyone else involved in the line of this. But I'm hoping so much that these Twitter folks that are commenting here are the people who are the fringe of stupidity. So on X slash Twitter, whatever, it's hard to break that habit. We have this Alex Cole clown. Alex Cole, let me check real quick. Software engineer and pilot. Okay, that tells you everything you need to know because he's an idiot. Like 98% of software engineers are for some reason far leftists who have no actual problem solving skills in terms of nature, in terms of outdoors, in terms of a lot of things that aren't specifically software development. And this guy might even be one of those clowns that just uses AI now to generate all of his code and then commits it and da 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 da. Point is, resistbay.etsy.com. He's an activist. He's not even a software engineer. He's a clown on every level. Anyways, so he says, can one of you MAGAs explain how the F can firefighters stop this? And this was a video that is no longer available. Whoever it was deleted the post. But it was a video of the fire in general. And so firstly, we have this bad faith argument from this Michael Cleary, who's an absolute idiot as well. Look at that. There's the flags. Stand with Ukraine and President Harris. You're a clown. You can't even think for yourself. Anyways, he says, according to MAGA officials, like Mel Gibson and James Woods, who are not MAGA officials, so good job. You've started off the first sentence with a lie. If the fire department employed only Republican straight white males, this LA fire would have never happened, or it would have been under control within a couple minutes. Firstly, no one has claimed that. No one has claimed that it has to be straight white males that are Republican voters. No one, not a single person. We'll get another video in a little bit about the clown of a fire chief or whoever it was. But here's how having Republicans changes everything. Whenever you're run by Democrats for literally decades, they get to just change the laws into whatever they want. In this case, reservoirs were never built because they just said, oh no, we need to protect, I can't remember what the fish is. It's a little fish. They needed a 3-year study before they could do any water diversions and da 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 da. They made whatever excuses the left wanted to make not to do it. If you get conservatives and liberals both trading off power and having actual give and take and going back and forth, what you see is actually solid policy. Because what survives the two going back and forth is the stuff that's in the middle. And you might get brief periods where the left more extreme things get to stay, and then you'll have periods where the right's more extreme things get to stay. But the big thing is this. California has not done proper forest maintenance in ages. For example, you don't see wildfires like this go on basically anywhere else for a big reason. Everywhere else, there are controlled burns. There are fire lines that are done every year. There are actually like those other states and other locations will actually make sure that they have proper water supplies to handle emergencies. You will have the clearing of underbrush. Specifically, this is a big thing that California is run by absolute either evil people or absolute morons. I don't know which it is. Specifically, it might be both. But you have to clear dead debris that is on the forest floor in order to slow down the spread of fires. This is a well-known fact everywhere in the world. You cannot just let it sit on the floor, or else it's just more fuel, which allows hotter burns, larger burns, the burns to move faster, all of it. It's stupid. And so, the key is this. Republicans being in charge, right now, there probably would have been more reservoirs of water, so the firefighters would have had more water to actually work with. That's what could have changed about after the fire started. But what Republicans would have changed is that there would have been a lot more preventative measures that were put in place. There would not have been this culture that is built around the idea that doing anything to the forest is unacceptable by these absolute lunatics that think that cutting down any trees or doing anything or removing dead underbrush or doing any of these other things is absolutely unacceptable. Those insane people would not have ever had the power to actually stop us from clearing underbrush, from making fire lines so that you could slow down and stop fires. It's a big thing to be able to do preventative measures for fires. And then, like I said, whenever it was voted ages ago for them to add more reservoirs to California so that they could be ready for droughts exactly like this, the Republicans would have actually been able to do it rather than being stopped by far leftists. Now, really quick, I just want to look at a couple of these extra comments. So this person, this mud puppy on XChan, has a very good point, actually, with this. See, what's funny about them is that when a tragedy hits a blue state, it's the governor's fault. When the tragedy hits a oh, never mind. She's not saying what I thought she said, but I will bring up the point that I thought she was going to say. She's insane. She's another idiot. But I thought she was starting to say, because I saw this part, when a tragedy hits a red state under a dim president. I didn't see the next line. I did not read fully before I completed in my head what I thought she was saying. She's saying that it's, the governor's fault whenever it's a blue state, and it's the government's fault whenever it's the Dems president. Okay, so firstly, this dumb bitch doesn't seem to understand the basics of this. This fire is occurring because that state did not do proper forestry. It didn't do proper forestry in any way. It didn't do any proper preventative measures. It did not fill its water reservoirs. It did not build the additional reservoirs. That state failed on every point. That's why it's on the state in this case. When a tragedy hits a red state under the Dem president, aka Joe Biden, after the Southeast all got hit by 2 hurricanes, here's the difference. A hurricane had no preventative measures that you could do. None. All you could do is get people to leave the area, and that's it. And even then, whenever it got way inland, whenever there were the floods and the issues up in, I think it was up in Kentucky, that's not preventable. And then on top of that, we find out over and over that FEMA and places like that are under federal control were intentionally not helping. Those southern states got so little help, it's nuts. And now Joe Biden has said that they're basically going to foot the bill for completely fixing California. Go fuck yourself, Democrats. I'm sick and tired of this. The Southeast got nothing. They get $700 a person. But then the Democrat president wants to promise to completely rebuild LA. No, go fuck yourself. The people in the Southeast deserve just as much help as the absolute cesspool that is LA. LA full of homeless vagrants, full of drug-riddled people over on the Skid Row area. Like, that area, LA, is disgusting in every metric. I do not wish people to die at all. But my point is that there are good people in the Southeast that don't. I mean, there's people that do have drug issues and do have money problems and all sorts of other issues. But I personally know multiple people down in the Southeast that are good people, that try to work hard, that try to make their ends meet, that try to take care of each other. Notice that whenever the red states all had issues, there were tons of people that, whether you like it or not, were conservative, not Democrat, who were out to help each other. And the government was trying to stop them from helping each other. That's the other reason why Mud Puppy's a dumbass. I regret that I even said she had a good point from the start. She's an idiot. She's another brainwashed leftist. What's this one say? As a former firefighter, allow me to tell you, with water and hydrants, with qualified personnel instead of weak lesbians, and not giving away your equipment to Ukraine, and 4, actually practicing fire prevention and forestry management, as opposed to not practicing, this is just the beginning. That's the key. So, with this, we already covered the water and hydrants because I mentioned the fact that Democrats refused to refill their damn reservoirs this entire time because no one is ever going to vote them out because Democrat voters in California have so much power and so little brains that they will not ever actually hold their people accountable, that they don't have to refill the reservoirs. This whole place is going to burn down, and you know what's going to happen? Every dumbass, brainwashed person is going to vote blue the exact same way on the next election. Newsom should be facing absolute calls from every corner of LA to resign and leave, and he should be disgraced. Number 2 is going to happen in our next video. We're covering that in a little bit. And then number 3, they actually gave firefighting equipment away to Ukraine. They actually did that. There's no excuse for that. You have to give equipment away and replace it. Okay, that will make sense. If you're getting new equipment and you want to donate the old, fine. They just gave equipment away. They did not replace it. They just gave it away. From all the stuff I've seen, there was no replacement. And then number 4 is what I already said. They didn't do fire lines. They didn't do clearing of underbrush. They didn't do any proper forestry management. None. And then this will happen. And then you know what will happen after this is they'll get rain in the spring. And then they'll get mudslides because all their forestry stuff has now burned, which means those root systems are collapsing, which means there's going to be a mudslide. California has the worst cycle because of their own stupidity. There is no fixing it unless you stop voting blue no matter who. You have to stop that. If you have a friend that is a Democrat in California, please explain to them that, hey, you guys have to vote for proper forestry. If you don't do proper forestry, you're going to get another fire next year. Every single year, there's 3 things that happen in California. Fires, mudslides, and brownouts. Because they don't have the power grid to handle their shit. They don't have the forestry to stop fires. And then they don't have the forests to stop the mudslides. It's those 3 things every single year. And yet we see people complain whenever Texas had a power outage for 4 days, 5 days? Because they were refused the ability to turn on their old coal-fired power plants just for a short term in order to actually push through this extreme winter weather that they were getting a few years ago. And you know who stopped them? The EPA. The EPA is full of leftists. It's full of leftists. I wonder if there's a percentage political leanings of EPA workers. Let's take a quick look, real quick, before we clock off. Is this actually... What year was it that the Texas winter power outage, was that 2021? Looks like it was 2021. 2021 it looks like. Okay. So in 2021. Oh my gosh, please stop being... Do not trust political for jack shit. They lie about everything. Look at this. At EPA, Trump's second term is already having consequences. Yeah, because the EPA is full of power-hungry pieces of shit every time. Does this have one? This is from 2021. Let's take a quick look. EPA. Ooh. Okay, so that's talking about just departures. So let me extrapolate a little bit of data. So there's two types of people in this world: people who cannot extrapolate incomplete data, and the others. If you didn't get that, congratulations, you're group one. Democrats make up about half the workforce from 1997 to 2019 data period, compared with about 41% of the U.S. population. Okay. Meanwhile, registered Republicans dropped from 32 to 26% during the period, with an increase of independents making up the difference. The most heavily Democratic departments are the EPA, the Department of Education, and the State Department, where about 70% of employees registered to the party, while the most conservative departments are agriculture and transportation. Okay, that's not surprising, because agriculture is full of farmers, and farmers are Republican. The end. But I was going to extrapolate the fact that it tripled whenever Trump took office, meaning that there was probably like a 2/3-ish amount of folks that were Democrats. That was my estimate of what I was going to do. And that would have given me about 66%. So 70% of employees, that's pretty good. My extrapolation would have been right. So the point is this. The EPA, they're a bunch of Democrats who want to use their power in the government to get more power and more control. They want to stop people from being able to actually use the land that they paid for. They want to stop people from being able to do the things that they need to do. Like, it's just what it is. There's nothing else but that. They're stopping proper forestry management. And if the EPA gets to get their way about things, forest management may get even worse across the whole United States. So with that, I'm going to end this. But the key is this. Republicans would have made a difference in, one, preventative measures, in proper forestry management, not giving away equipment, and keeping everything fully staffed with proper people who want to be there, and then with water and hydrants due to the fact that they would have built the reservoir and filled the reservoir. That would have been the difference. That's what Republicans would have done different. And independents and Republicans agree on things more than independents and Democrats agree on things in the last 3, 4, 5 years. So it's not just Republicans. It is the majority of the United States population. So Democrats, get fucked. Get fucked. You are the minority and you're the fringe extremists. Get that shit out of here and return to normalcy. Return to sanity, or you can immigrate out. Leave the United States if you're that afraid of the United States. Get out or or return to normalcy where you can actually fucking handle super big crises like this. It's insane. So, with that, thank you. I bid you adieu.